Welcome again to MotherSonCooking.com. It's another early Sunday morning here in San Antonio. I'm going to come back in and I'm going to make some cabbage rolls this evening. One of the hardest parts of it is getting the cabbage steamed. If you notice, I've come back in here, I've cored the cabbage, I've peeled everything off of it. You make this in advance. You can, once you get your cabbage that you're going to roll up the sauce and the meat up in, you can put it in an ice box, and later that evening you can come back and put it together. What you basically need is a nice sized pot with a little bitty steamer. The cabbage done, put it over the heat, steam it, peel it, and then you put it in an ice box, the cabbage, and you can let it sit for a day or two. I've come back and let that cabbage steam, in my pot for a little bit, and you can see right here, it kind of moves real easy off of it. You get down to the core, it gets a little tougher, but it sure helps. And I'll get this cabbage peeled and show you what it looks like. As you can see, this is about 3 minutes later because it was steamed. I just stuck the fork on the backside where I cored it. I just put my fork in, I came back in, barely pulled it off. It's a little hot, but nothing so hot. And you can see all the nice cabbage pieces that I'm going to have to come back and make my cabbage rolls. So I'll let that cool down, put it in the ice box. Oh, I could do this today or tomorrow, but I'm going to make the sauce here in a little bit and put it together. You want the cabbage rolls nice and soft and easy to work with. For the meat, I've got a pound of hamburger, 3/4 of a pound of pork. I got my usual vegetables. I got a third a cup of chopped up carrot, a little bit of bell pepper chopped up, a little bit of celery popped up, a little bit of about a third of an onion popped up. I got my whole tomatoes over there, a little puree. That's what I'm going to make the sauce out of. And the spices, I'll put a little bit of Worcestershire sauce in it, a little bit of ground cinnamon in it, a bay leaf in it. Of course, my favorite, to give it a little spice, a little slap your mama, a little oregano, a little salt and pepper, and a little bit of chicken broth. I just happen to have one that I like to keep one for a little dash instead of make it the way I normally, and the salt and pepper. So those are the basic ingredients that are going to go on the cabbage roll. See, I browned up the hamburger and the pork. I like to add the pork because it adds just a little bit more flavor. Don't want to overcook it because we're going to come back in and we're going to add a little sauce and steam it down. Now I've added my carrots, my onions, my bell pepper, and my celery with a little bit of olive oil. We're going to do a little salt and pepper on it, a couple little pinches. And all we're going to do is just kind of soften them up, and then I'll put the sauce together. All my vegetables in there, let them soften up a little bit. This recipe I like to come back in because it's going to be kind of a tomato based thing. I like to add third a cup, just kind of cover it up with the vegetables, steam down with the chicken stock, and then it'll cook down a little bit, and then I'll start putting the rest of the sauce together. But that's what I like to do. It just adds a little bit more flavor to the dish. I've steamed up the vegetable a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit of oregano in it. I'm going to come back in, put a little slap your mama in it. I've already added a little salt and pepper to it. I'll put a bay leaf in a minute. One of the things that I do like in this is a little ground cinnamon. What I'm going to do, I'm going to dump in my 1 can of tomato puree. I like the tomato puree a little bit better than just regular tomato. It's got a little bit more of a taste to it. I'm going to dump that in. We got that in. Now, that's going to be I'm going to put a little of this sauce after this cooks down a little while. This is one of the basic ones recipe my mother used to make. She'd put this on meatloaf, she'd put it on Swiss steaks, little variations and that type of stuff, but was the basis of it. And I use this recipe in a lot of different things. Of course, I'll change the spices up depending on what I'm doing. And to thicken, I'm going to add just a little bit more chicken stock in it. We're going to let that cook down for a little bit. Let it simmer up. Then I'll come back in a few minutes, just add a little bit more spices to flavor it up. I've got about half of one of the chicken stocks in there. I got my tomatoes. I added a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, a little bit more spices and that type of stuff. Again, I added my bay leaves for a little bit of flavor. It's kind of a basic catch-all sauce that goes on top. One difference, of course, that I like in this is you put a little bit of cinnamon in this, and then we're going to mix a little bit of the sauce at the end into the ground hamburger and the pork with the rice in it, and that'll be used for the stuffing of the cabbage rolls. And then of course we got the sauce to go on top. Down, one of the things I was looking at, I didn't think I had enough sauce, so I added another can of tomato puree because I wanted to get the meat mixture a little moist and have a little bit more sauce to go on top of the cabbage rolls. I've come over here, I added about half of the rice. I don't like too much rice in my cabbage rolls. We cooked about a cup. I've added about a cup in, and I've added some of the sauce. So now we're going to start putting the cabbage rolls together. Now you don't want to overfill the cabbage, so it's always best to go a little bit under. I put about that much on, I'll roll it up and show you what it looks like. The size and the shape of the cabbage roll depends upon the size of the leaf. There's some small ones, there's some large ones, there's some fat ones. You just put enough meat in the center, roll it up nice. Now with the recipe I made, I've got about that much meat left over. There's the sauce over there that's going to go on top of it. What I do, I always like to have a little the meat and stuff, off to the side, because then I'm going to put this in a little plate, pie plate, or pie plate. You can use pie plate, a little casserole dish. Put some sauce on, and then I put the extra little bit of meat mixture with the rice over the top of it. The cabbage rolls to a casserole dish. You can see there's about 12 of them in there. That'll feed 3 to 4 people. Now I'm going to finish it up. I'm going to put some of the sauce and some of the extra meat stuffing over the top. Then what you do, you come back in and you bake it in the oven for 30 to 40 minutes, get it nice, hot and steamy, maybe up to an hour, depending upon the size of the oven. As you can see over here, I've got these left. I'll make another deal. Would feed 6 to 8 people with a side vegetable. I hope you'll try this and come back to motherssoncooking.com. Come back and show you the finished dish. I took about half of the tomato sauce gravy with the vegetables in it, put it over the top. I also added about half the meat, and as you can see over here, I've got enough to make one more little casserole dish. If you don't have that many people eat, you can always make you another one of these casserole dishes, stick it in the freezer, and have it a couple weeks later, and it'll taste just as good then. So come back to motherssoncooking.com, and we'll see you soon. I hope you enjoy this recipe. It's one of my favorites. I know it takes a little while to do it, but my mother, aunts and that type of stuff, they would sit around there in the summertime. We'd watch them make this recipe, and it was no biggie. They would clean the house, they'd do this and cook a little bit. If you do it that way, you come up with a very nice meal.